So without further ado, let me briefly introduce Minister Czaputowicz. Minister Czaputowicz really needs no introduction, and he has been a tremendous presence in Poland and a great friend of GMF. He's an academic, accomplished academic. He's a practitioner. He joined the MFA already in 1990. And of course, he is the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland. Minister, welcome. Over to you for your introduction of our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on that virtual seminar organized by GMF Warsaw office. I remember our discussions a year ago. It is a good opportunity to discuss the state of transatlantic relations with experts, policymakers from both sides of the Atlantic, and we are happy to work together with the German Marshall Fund to strengthen the transatlantic bond. And let me congratulate you, Director, on perfect timing. I was not aware that you knew about the visit of the President to Washington, but it happened that it's a symbolic discussion because the visit is symbolic. President Duda is the first head of state from NATO countries to be received in the White House since the outbreak of the pandemic, and it is the first President Duda foreign visit abroad. So indeed, a lot of symbols in that day today. But also it shows that the Polish-American partnership is very strong. Our relations focus on defense, security, energy. US forces have been engaged in strengthening the defense capabilities in our region. It is since the Russian aggression on Ukraine in 2014. And we have to remember that the security environment we live in is dynamic, very dynamic. Our transatlantic community constantly needs to adapt to changes of that environment, to new challenges. Coronavirus is widely seen as an accelerator of many phenomena in international politics. Let me mention them. First, I would say it is health. Health as a global public good has become a new area of rivalry. International organizations have proven, I think, particularly we see it in Europe, within the European Union, but these organizations are less effective than nation states in the daily crisis management. It is a lesson for us. Nation states took a lead in fighting pandemic, and the Polish government is handling the pandemic relatively well. We are in top 10 countries in Europe with fewest fatalities, taking into account the size of the population. And we are the first country in Europe to impose sanitary border controls and obligatory quarantine. Other countries followed Poland. Secondly, the coronavirus has exposed some of the vulnerabilities of our community, transatlantic community. COVID-19 proved to be a challenge for the security of supply of medical goods, for example. And thirdly, NATO and broadly the West, the democratic West, have become objects to intense disinformation and propaganda campaigns by its adversaries, particularly Russia and China. Their goal is to devitalize and to undermine our values. I think that the COVID-19 pandemic is a test for our resilience and ability to tackle new forms of threats. I would say that since the outbreak of the pandemic, Moscow carried out large-scale drills close to NATO borders. Ceasefire was repeatedly violated by Russian-backed separatists in eastern Ukraine. As far as China is concerned, because it is the subject of the discussion, today's China and Russia as a threat, a challenge, China continues to project its power in the South China Sea and to tighten its grip on Hong Kong. Poland has been an advocate of strengthening US and allied presence in NATO's eastern flank. US troops are deployed in our country also as a result of our bilateral cooperation. We all well remember the declarations signed by Presidents Andrzej Duda and Donald Trump last year on deploying additional 1,000 US soldiers to Poland and make this presence permanent. We are waiting for the meeting of the presidents, but we think that some maybe concretization or some details will be in the joint declaration, but I am sure that the declaration will tackle the American military presence as a guarantor of security in the European Union. I think that we have to also look at the trade between our countries. Since 2016, our trade between Poland and US has grown more than 50%. There is also an area of cooperation very profitable for both sides. It will be definitely part of the discussion, subject of the discussion between our ministers. It is energy security issues. First of all, LNG supplies to Poland. We already signed an agreement, long-term agreement, which guarantees energy security for Poland and our region, other countries like Belarus and Ukraine as well. But also, I think that it might be kind of a new area of cooperation, which is civil nuclear energy, use of that technology in Poland. We are very much interested in developing cooperation in this field, which will further strengthen our independence from energy sources imports. I already mentioned the American military presence. Let me also say, because sometimes it is commented and discussed, that both countries, both sides are very much interested, as the transatlantic community at large, in upholding the rules-based international order. Use of force and acts of aggression must be condemned, and perpetrators of such acts must face consequences. We see a lot of possibility in further developing economic cooperation between our countries, but also with the region, and the role of the 3 Cs initiative is crucial here. The initiative which aims at strengthening interconnectivity in the region, make the region less dependent on its allies, but also there is a field of, there is an interest, and justified interest of the US to develop that initiative and maybe to strengthen economic ties with these regions. This is what I wanted to say as a start to our discussion. Mr. Director, I am open to your questions. I am aware that I did not refer commented issues, declarations of President Donald Trump concerning military presence in Europe. I am sure that you will comment on that and you will also discuss that issue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister.